Welcome, everybody. This is a special day, and I'm pretty honored to stand in the M-Town studio right now. It's the launch of the new M3 and M4 worldwide. Well, nice to see you guys back again. Drop us some countries where you guys watching. We're always keen on knowing who's gonna watch the new M3, M4 webcast at the beginning. Before I get started, I have a specific question. You know those two guys, right? The Marvel Avengers. And the question is, everybody wants to be a superhero, right? What do you actually need to have to be a superhero? It's pretty easy. You gotta have superpower. And that's exactly what these two cars have. I go into detail with you right after the brutal new launch film of the M3 and 4. I'll be right back. See you in a minute. So tell me about yourself. Let's go. We still awake, but we aren't afraid to take the chances. It's that time to come out of the shadows. We are the future. Rebel. You're getting one hell of a chance in life. Poetry in motion toward the palace of the future thrill. Addicted to the pleasure of being a ruler. The crowd mover stepping over humble giants. The competition fears the order before defiance. Leaders try to watch, but we devastate over the ashes and in the smoke. Celebrate, 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 celebrate. Spill my soul in tongues. Left, right, endless. Skies till dawn. Rushing through eternity. So we will rise and find.
But the things that you cannot express.
Take it to the streets now. Tear it down on the concrete. Feel for the drive. Come to the speed that you feel it in your heartbeat. I hope you like it.
Well, of course, we got to talk about the design first. And that is the kidney of the M3. I'm sure you have checked out Instagram pictures already and you've been sneaking into details. I got to say a few things first. These are our camouflage cars. You see those holes drilled in here, and the specification is actually not the one you can order in your showroom, but that's all we got for the presentation right now, all the cars around the world at the moment. They have given it this massive kidney, and that's good. There's a lot of discussion about it. It has horizontal lines, and because they don't frame it anymore, they have a full area for the cooling system. We've got an X-Drive coming as well. I'm going to talk about this later on. So we do need a lot of cooling air. This car doesn't have any radar sensors, but this is what the people will see in the mirrors once this car is on the track. Focused lights with the individual shadow line. It does work together right now with the laser light. And when the camera takes the whole side, you can see there is this black area down here. Internally, it's been called the skateboard, but actually we don't use this for a customer explanation. It's on both cars. This is an M3, not competition. We've seen it in the badging in the front, and this is this Alaman green on the side. Well, the M3 is more brutal than the M4 because you can see on the rear axle, right in front of the door, there is this enhanced track width. And the front axle of this car has been increased, the track width by 31 millimeters. We'll get all those data later on in the presentation again. Well, there is a 19-inch in the front and there's a 20-inch in the rear. They're all forged rims. We go and run through the wheels and tire program as well. And you can see there is the golden brake in there. For the experts amongst you guys, you can see there is a one-piston rear only because we have an electric handbrake. But that doesn't matter at all. The car has a tremendous rear. If the camera just picks this is massive. 100 millimeter diameter, 4-pipe M exhaust, of course. A diffuser element has all been taken in black. And there is the gurney on the trunk lid in body color. So this is what you might see when the lights have appeared for some time in your mirror. And there it is, Sao Paulo yellow. So these two brothers, these two superheroes are in a communication all over the place. And we want to take those two. This is an M4 again. There is no competition badging. Even so, you might see a few parts and pieces where you say that doesn't actually match to your price list experiences so far. Well, for the experts, there is a carbon package. I don't know if the camera can pick this up right now because it's pretty dark in here. We are in the M-Town studio. The carbon exterior package then covers air intakes. As we move along, you can see there's mirrors in carbon. And then further the side, you will see there is the gurney on the rear. And beside those big L-shaped taillights, there is a whole carbon splitter at the rear bump. So I've been taking you're the first people to watch a detailed video now of those two cars. I'm sure there's a whole lot going on during the day right now. If you got questions and other stuff, make sure you just drop them in the chat function. Our people behind the desk will take them and will throw them at me at the end of the session. So let me now take the chance to give you more insights on the technology. Every M3 and every M4 has a whole load of technology changes according to the series cars. This time, people can see it right from the start. I know some of the markets that people say, well, you know, there's not too much differences by the look when it comes to the M cars. But this time there is a massive change. When you look at the M3, it takes over the big kidney, not as the standard car. And the basic power, as I'm sure you know already, is 480 horsepower, and the torque is 550. That is enough for having approximately the same acceleration times than the F80 or F82. But the competition model, which does not have extraordinary more exterior equipment beside the mirrors and the gills, more or less they're looking pretty much the same. M3 will have chrome tailpipes, for example, and the competition has black ones, but it's more about the technology package. The competition comes with an 8-speed auto. We're going to talk about this, and that is enough for getting down below 4 seconds right now. And it's one of the most strongest 6-cylinder turbo engines in the market with having 650 torque. That is absolutely incredible. But I still have a high RPM turbo engine as we netted a 6-cylinder turbo engine out of the X3M, X4M so far. So it's been doing a good job all over. But now it hits the sedan with only roughly above 1,700 kilograms of Dean weight. It's about 1,780, including the driver European spec. Well, that engine now is a 6-cylinder, has the performance of former 8 or 10 cylinders, if you can imagine that one. 650 torque, that is pretty much what diesel engines will throw, but they have very limited RPM. Now here you have kind of a high rev turbo concept, plus this tremendous torque. I got a chance to drive this car 2 or 3 weeks back. Somebody's trying to steal an M3. You can hear the alarm going off outside. But now that turbo engine now has a lot of extra cooling pumps, by the way, and that ensures even cooling down after a racetrack use. So you see there's an electric pump doing 30 seconds or 30 minutes right after, according to the heat in their engine. First time, the M3 and M4 gets an 8-speed automatic. So the double clutch has been swept away, and we've got an additional gear. If you're into the details, the ratio of that gearbox is quite interesting. The split of the gears is different. The ratio is higher on the first 3 gears, giving the car quite a perfect match to the power, and you can drive it over torque or RPM and the performance as you like on a racetrack, depending on the surface. You know, when it's kind of slippery, you would rather take a higher gear than a high RPM. The 8-speed gearbox does have the launch control, of course. It's built in the 6-speed manual, which is outstanding car. And it's also built in the 8-speed M Steptronic. There's 2 ways of activating it. I'm sure you'll find out once you get your fingers on the steering wheel. All right, so next year, and I'm pretty glad. I know I've said to you guys in the training worldwide all the past years, when people are asking me, when do we have an M3, M4 with extra, I says, it's only happening when the last M engineer has shot himself. I'm sorry, I was definitely wrong. So they're all still alive out there. Next year, July, we do get the MX drive. And this is what we also understand of power of choice. There will be the full MX drive functions available. Incredible, absolutely incredible acceleration times. I'm not speaking about this, but the margin goes even down. And that combines perfectly with the M active differential in the rear, which these 2 cars are featuring, which is always good for a nice drift, or actually together with new ARB technology and also new brake system, this is just magic. The M8 was introducing the integrated brake system that time, right? And the first time in these 2 vehicles, you guys, your customers, so once you go for a ride, you have a chance to switch 2 behaviors of your foot brake, because the foot brake, you are just pumping into a rubber, and the brake force is integrated, or is actually developed by a brake system. So it doesn't depend on if you're on a racetrack or not. The comfort and the sport one gives you 2 different behaviors between low speeds and high speeds. So the pedal travel and the feeling for the driver on low speed between comfort and sport, and on high speed with comfort and sport, you can see right here. It's not the orange and the yellow one, it's the orange and the blue, and it's the yellow and the gray one. So that means the pedal feeling, you know, we're talking about millimeters and about a perception, that changes according to your speeds and your brake activity. And that is something that has been developed on a new stage on this car. I'm speaking to the engineers right outside there, and they say, if you know it from the M8, with this car, it picks even another stage. We're gonna talk about this also. ARB technology, the new technology that comes out of the electric i3 first, actuator continuous wheel slip limitation. Terrible wording, but you see the wet picture. You know what happens if these cars, if you put the throttle too much, we do get wheel spin pretty fast. And remember, the rear axle is there for stability. The front axle is there for agility. So if the rear axle slips, then, well, either you want to have it, or you just slow down once you're on racetrack, or you don't feel safe. With the ARB now, it's directly linked to the traction control system. So the perception is it hits the road, or it regulates the traction 10 times faster. Now imagine the car has MX drive. Then this ARB thing is linked to the all-wheel drive system and reduces any kind of wheel spin, loss of traction right at the beginning. So when you get a chance to drive it, I've done it in Maisach on the driving academy. You just have it. It's just on one thread going through. There is no activity, like there's no uncertain movement, and that is a match winner. I definitely tell you, these cars will determine everything that is on the planet within the HP class right now. And there's another reason for this. When we've done a webcast or the training on the G22, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the 4 Series, you know, the scalpel, they call it internally, it got a lot of struts and stuff, as you can see in the picture. That is a 4 Series compared to the 3 Series sedan. Now ask yourself, what was the reason for it? Well, obviously, it was all into driving dynamics. And if you have a race car and if you would tune it, you would actually moving the same way. So I just want to open the bonnet quickly here. And I'm pretty happy that the guys, my opinion, are not wasting money on putting any shiny carbon struts anymore, because that is not what counts. So the strut system in this car here, and I have got another picture for you right over there. The strut system now is pretty massive, and the car is completely reinforced on the front axle. Remember what I told you a minute ago? The front axle is always responsible for agility. And if there is a game changer in the new M3, it's the front axle. The behavior of the steering of this car on a racetrack is more than a scalpel, but there's nothing more than that. I don't know. You should check this out. 31 millimeter more track width. If I'm going to talk about the M3 right here, you can see the front rings are really bulky going out. When you look from the rear, you see that car is massive. And that just turns like hell. And then if we have a look at the rear axle, I'm not running through all the struts. You're going to can check this equipment on the TMSI platform or the IRM training later on. The whole rear axle is now pretty much fixed and built in the car. So the rear axle is there for stability. 19-inch in the front, more tire work, 20-inch in the back, mixed tire set, of course, will give the new M3 and M4 just outstanding driving dynamics. That is for sure, it's been proved. So it wouldn't be M if they cannot add something on top for those ones who say, yeah, I know what you're talking, but you know, I just want to have more. And there is more. There is the racetrack package. So there is an option called 7mm, and that is a racetrack package where they combine all the activities you should have in your vehicle to make the optimum out on a racetrack. And of course, it's focused on weight as well. It's not any weight somewhere, because these two cars, look at my cars. These cars have a sunroof at the moment. You don't want to have it, but it's still available. The racetrack package now combines anything where you can throw out weight where it's crucial. For example, the carbon ceramic brakes. And I've added it all together, you can see, so you're approximately losing 25 kilos in the car, but it's not somewhere in the car. So once we have a look at the brakes, for example, you've done a lot of M training, you know, the combination on the wheel with the carbon ceramic brake will kill about 7 kilos of weight on the rotating wheel. And that is something you can feel, definitely, especially, and you can see my curbs here, when you're on rough terrain. Nürburgring Nordschleife, we've been there 4 weeks ago. There's rough areas where the wheel has a lot of travel. So if your shoes are 7 kilos lighter, that makes a difference. It's not only about the color, guys, for any girls and wives or for yourself with the golden one. There's a whole lot of performance in there as well. And that's why I'm saying go for the ceramics, take it. If you go for sporty driving, then the biggest game changer, if you want to have it, is the tires. So the only connection between the best driver in the world, which is you, and the best car in the world, which is these two buddies here, is the tire. So there is Michelin tires. There's several tires will be allowed, Michelin tires on the cars here, and you can choose semi-slicks, like the M2 CS. We've taken it on the driving experience now. There is a whole CS fleet, and it's like chewing gum on the road as long as it's dry, for sure. If it gets wet, it's a bit risky. But the people would have the choice as a no-cost option, ex-factory, to run it on semi-slick tires. You can see the tire portfolio right here. All of the rims look stunning. There's 19 and 20. There's one 18 and 19 one, which is the basic wheel. But according to your market specs, you just find out what they put you as standard tires. When we look at the track tire, a semi-slick, like an M2 CS, then that is a game changer when it comes to traction. Well, it's allowed to drive those in public traffic, but for some markets, the people have to sign a certain agreement when they are told recommendation of MS, don't use them in wet and very cold conditions. But for the track, it's a rocket solid feel on the road for sure. And that can be spec'd right from the beginning in those cars. So track time then for sure is improving pretty much. Customer then speccing their car, but they have taken the racetrack package. We can give a recommendation. Number one, on the left side, they got to choose the track tires themselves, number one, because legal requirements. Then, of course, there's some stuff we say is not recommended then. For example, the automatic trunk lid, like those cars have, electrical one, driving assistant, parking assistant. There's a whole lot of stuff that adds a lot of weight in the vehicle and then would eat up what you have. It's just not recommended, but of course it's possible. Mostly of the time, people drive in daily traffic. There's a few things that are not available when you combine a racetrack package, but you can read it yourself. For sure, the sunroof, like in those cars here, that it doesn't make sense. And all the way down here, for example, active seat ventilation, as it's not possible to be used with a bucket seat, which I'm going to introduce you in a minute. Color and trims, that is the magic Isle of Man green. I've just seen this morning on Instagram that there is a hashtag Isle of Man green. The only pictures that are in there is the new M3 and 4 pictures. It looks pretty stunning. We've got this Kyalami orange. That is the hair combination, but you might see this later on. And then there is Sao Paulo yellow. This car here has been spec'd with Kyalami interior orange. Would not be my choice, to be honest, but the official pictures, you can see the Yas Marina blue. That's the most outgoing characters for the moment. And as you can see, the yellow marker I've put in for you, March 21, there's more to come. But 48C, the M carbon seat, cannot be spec'd with all the interior trims. So that's the only thing to be that needs to be checked before. Well, you want to have a look inside? I'm going to give you a look inside, and we just jump in one of the vehicles. Let's take the M4 over here. And with the M4, there is the bucket seat right when I open the door. So actually, first time ever, the M runs with a full carbon bucket seat. I've checked competition cars. They're sport seat, the whole load. Pretty heavy. This seat, you've seen it, saves 10 kilos, number one. Number two, if you see the carbon on the rear side, look at this. It's a one-piece carbon. This is just magic. Look at this. And the M stripes. Did you see there was an easy entry function as well? And it's fully automatic. And we can pick the seat stuff down here. You know, I'm just 76 kilos of weight. This seat is made for me. But you can still adjust it to your body. So there's still air on the left and on the right cushions. It can really squeeze you like a lemon if you want to have it for any racetrack performance. If you want, you got an opening for your 6-point belt. And can't do it right now. The top cushion here can be taken off if you ride it with a helmet. Because there are some racetracks I've been, like Yas Marina racetrack in Abu Dhabi. You guys have a helmet mandatory speeds more than 120 or something. That's second gear. 120, no, it's third gear. And then you can take this off, so it's more convenient for you to drive in the car, and you can spec it with a 6-point belt. You don't have to do this because the standard belt works pretty much. As you can see, my car is a manual, so it's got to be a core model, even it looks in some stage like a competition. I've told you in a moment. And yes, we do have the M1 and M2 buttons in red now for everyone that knows how to operate an M5 or an M8. You will feel home once you jump in your new M3 and M4. Well, I think I got to show you the seat one more time on our presentation, on our slide, and we're going to be jumping in this car in a minute again, because there's a super cool feature. I'm sure you've read about it, the M Drift Analyzer, and it's pretty much madness. Okay, so now this is the seat. There's the two specs, Yas Marina Blue and Kyalami Orange. It's the M Carbon bucket seat. If you got customers slightly more muscles and stuff like myself, make sure they sit in first before they order them. They are tiny. They are, but then can still move to your body. Pricing. I'm not talking about prices today, but once you get your pricings in your market, generally ex-factory, those two cars come with a pretty big package of additional enriched standard equipment. And one of it is worldwide the Live Cockpit Professional. So it's a full digital dashboard, hi-fi speakers, for example. There's a lot of new interior upgrades. As you can see, seat heating, leather merino comes as standard. So it's pretty good spec. I've checked the price situation for Germany, and I must say, absolutely competitive. Plus, M cars in the past, the M3 was the last one, the predecessor one, could not feature all the innovations of the BMW group. So they've made an excellent compromise. Look at the right side of your chart. If you want to have this as a business car, business sedan, the M3, well, you can pick the whole load from the top down there, including a reversing assistant and all the kind of stuff you need downtown. And you can still drive the car. The adaptive suspension, for example, is standard. And in all three modes, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus, it's dynamic regulating. So there's no static level on those cars as well. So unbeatable, I have to say so. But I still got to prove you some of the gadgets. Social media is becoming more and more. People want to share lap times and pictures and stuff like this. So the M-Drive Professional, which is part of the racetrack package or the competition model, does have a bunch of new functions. Number one, for your driving performances as a personal coach. There's not always people from driving experience or instructors or good friends sitting next to you when you try to do a drift somewhere around your roundabout, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure we see those movies pretty soon. But there is this traction control. I'm running into this at the moment. There's this M-Drift control or analyzer. There is the track mode on the competition cars, and there is a new version of lap timer 2.0. So the lap time, I can take this at the beginning, is only for the connected markets. It's not everybody that watches at the moment, but if you do have connectivity and apps in your vehicle, as the car is spec'd with Live Cockpit Professional, it would work. I'm going to show you in a minute how. You know, there's this new My BMW app coming slowly around the globe in 3 phases, as I'm not now who's watching, but you know, we've launched it for the main markets down Europe, plus some other markets in summer. There's also the BMW Connected app, so there's 2 of them. If you want to use the lap timer app, you have to download the new app. There's 2 lap timer apps. Unfortunately, they're not highlighted in the store, but you can see one has a carbon optics and one is purely black. You just take the black one. And so then the lap timer app requires the ID lock-in. There's 2 ways of getting this. And you can do 2 strikes at one hit because you need to be connected with your cars anyway. If someone does have a My BMW app or connected app, no problem. You go for version B. Download the MLab Timer app and log in with your ID. All the cars you own or you have mapped or taken over, before you go on a ride, you can check, I'm going to take this car and I'm going to add a driver. If you do not have it, just download the My BMW app or BMW Connected app, register first, and download meanwhile the Lab Timer app. The whole process took me less than 8 minutes. So that could be a version you can run this right today. And then you can see the Lab Timer app gives you all the hints. You see the red frame now. So there's a whole how-to. What you guys to do to have lap times plus a video recording, which is brand new first time. To all iPhone users, this is possible. You can see the iPhone. It's not possible for Android users at the moment. I have to say that in the beginning. Then you see the next screen. That's just an example screen of myself. So there's a 530 diesel, yes, and there's an i8, and then in the middle there's this GTS. I've just added another driver, but you can select one. You got to start the whole thing on the lap timer button on the car, and that will then ask you, are you connected via Bluetooth? It does work via Bluetooth. You don't have to have the cable, but you can use it. And then it records the whole thing. You see, that is the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Anything, brake, pressure, performance, G-force, whatever you want to have, of course, also the timings. If you want, and if you have a mounting in your car, you can also record the videos, which is pretty cool if you want to have it. But now comes something which is also extraordinary cool. These cars here, they have a head-up display, and there is this new cockpit where you also have a track mode or the sport mode. So if you check this out, then you see there is the best lap, and on the main instrument cluster, you can even see a prediction of the delta timing to your best lap. That is magic. It's like a real race timer if you want to have it. We do a lot of track training this year. That's the one that has been booked best. And I can see on Insta sometimes some of your markets also doing good in terms of driving experience. That could be something for our customers, which is pretty cool. You also have it on your phone, and of course you can share it very easy in social media if you want to just tell anybody what you've done. For those of you who want to end up like Ken Block, doing circles and burn rubber. I mean, drifting is not necessarily any important, but it's good for the hormone level in the body, or at least for mine. And there is something brand new. It's called the Drift Analyzer. And it combines two things. One thing, it does record what's happening in your car. And second, it gives you help if you're not the drifter. And I want to show this to you in the car in a minute. But we do have this M traction control. And I want to show you first the screen of the Drift Analyzer. The traction control, the wheel spin you can have on the rear is the one that, rear axle stability, make you slip oversteer and you're off. And some people at the beginning have a problem on adjusting the gas. So with that, with the traction control, I got to move to the vehicle. You can adjust between 0 and 10, and that can help you pretty much. And I just want to show you how that works, because we do have a camera built in the car. So, by the way, if you guys are just having questions, take that time while the system runs up here and drop them in the chat function. Ignition on. Right. Okay, well, there's nothing new over here. Radio Bob, pretty cool. I can run through the M menu right now. And there you are. Look at this. On the right side, you'll find the M Drift Analyzer. First, we configure M1. So on my way down, there you see the M traction control. I gotta have to switch off the DSC first, otherwise I cannot operate it. So DSC needs to be off, fully off. It says driving without stabilization. Okay, now I can hit the button and then DSC off. Traction control, tick, 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 tick. 10 is just like a traction control to drive off in difficult situations. Then the engine will be cut power pretty at the beginning. So 9, the engineers say, is on dry conditions an ideal setup for Nürburgring Nordschleife, right? When you go down to 0 is completely off, DSC off, everything is off. So there's no limitation in terms of the wheel spin in total. That means from 0 to 5, there is not much help of the car. But if you want to get into the first drifts, go down to for 9, 8, and 7. So then, even you put the throttle on the full flat out, the car will just deliver as much power to have a certain wheel slip, which automatically means you have a certain drift angle. And that's why the traction control and the drift analyzer works together. And we will soon see a lot of professional drifts around the globe, hopefully not with your demo cars. So let me check that one more time. As we go to the drift analyzer, look at this. If you're sure, yes, I want to go out, you have to activate it. I'm going to using the controller. I say DSC off is activated, and you see there's always minimum 1 confirmation. That means, guys, you say, yes, I want to have it. So there's no excuse for what's happening afterwards. But now you see next drift, best drift. Then you see the timings. You see the meters you can have. You see the angle. This car is pretty virgin. So there's nothing really happening in here. And once you've done it, it says distance drifted, single drift, total distance. It says also understeer, where you see, well, I've done the one or the other mistake. And you can still change your traction control meanwhile. And if you want to know, on my instruments cluster, maybe we can catch that with a camera, Chris, for a moment, because I've been asking this, the engineers, see my finger. In the cluster down here, you see how is the level of your traction control. DSC off, yes, and drift level or traction control on 6. And if I press and hold, once again, that is what we know since some time, activate track, it's all off. And if I don't want to have those the 2 gadgets left and right, I can take this off as well. So you only have, but the traction control, to see it in your instrument cluster, is quite crucial. If you're on a racetrack, condition change from dry to rain, and you should adapt this, and you would have your 100% perfect setup vehicle. Question on this? Drop me your questions right now in the chat functions. The guys will just check it and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Well, in our example, you can see there's a best drift and there's a certain angle. 33.3 is pretty much because the steering locks in at 32. This can only happen if you got an if you did your job on higher speeds. And then the stars on the left side, they come up according to what is the level of your traction control, which is actually being on 0, so you get more points than when you do the drift on level 6. Cool gadget. It's pretty much one and only. There is stuff like this in the market. Some people, some cars do offer the traction control, but in combination with something that makes drifting easier, that is pretty unique. That was the information on the M3 and M4 for now. 40 minutes. Now, we always need to compare, right? M is competition. And there's the classical competition, like you know, but there's also a hot Italian one. So how much do you guys know about a competition? Have you checked it in advance? You could have done this. Do you know if an all-wheel drive is better than a rear-wheel drive? Can they beat us? What's your perception? How do they activate our customers for events? And this is the competition we are facing or we're concentrating at the moment. Mercedes runs a coupe and a sedan. They have two versions, a C63 still using a V8, also an S version. You cannot see any 4MATIC there, right? Then Audi, obviously that's always a quattro. There's a coupe and a sportback. Alfa Romeo has the Giulia. All right, I've digged in the numbers, and this is the overview at the beginning. You can see there is cars, 510 is the maximum horsepower. Of course, we tick that box. Entry model 480, we are above the competition. We tick that box. So 4.2 and 3.9 is with the best. Ours best still to come. There's one outstanding feature, which is the 6-speed manual gearbox, right? For those ones, you want to have cars like this, like in here, as a manual race car. 1,700 kilos roughly is the weight. There's only one car 5 kilos lighter than ours, is the Alfa Romeo. All the others, Mercedes is 110 more, and Audi is 60 more, for example, but it features the all-wheel drive, so we'll match that weight as well with the all-wheel drive now. So as you can see, the car is not focusing on lightweight too much. It's more on control, stiffness, and performance. One thing that surprised me, but that can be different in your markets in Germany, the Mercedes and the Audi, the standard option is like what you can see in the pictures. There's analog dials. Mercedes has a pretty small monitor in the middle if you do not buy the command online, which is extra money. The Alfa Romeo, for example, does not have a virtual cockpit, but it gives you those integrated setup. So I told you the M3, M4 will come worldwide with an upgraded package of specifications. To save you some time, you should take a picture of this one, because I've digged in all the competition, German price lists for now, and I saw some surprising stuff because people also relate money. This is a very, you buy by heart. But even those cars are pretty hot, right? The Alfa Romeo, there's no all-wheel drive, okay, there's no problem. There's no manual transmission, no problem. But it runs on big xenon lights, for example. I mean, it's the safety, I don't care at the moment, but it's also not cool. It doesn't look cool. The LEDs here, they look cool. There's no head-up display, which helps me a lot when I do driving downtown traffic or on the racetrack. And it doesn't have a lot of driver assistance. Okay. Mercedes, two things. Number one, no all-wheel drive. That is, they have all-wheel drive on the E-Class, and other than that, no carbon bucket seats. They don't have a carbon fiber roof, for example. They have a sunroof, right? If you buy the carbon brakes, you'll find them pretty cheap. 5,500 Germany, but then I question myself, how is that possible? They only run it on the front axle. So it's the same like the Audi. So the rear axle, they run it on steel brakes. The intelligent voice command is not available on the Mercedes. They just offer it on others. They have one. The trunk is quite small, 355 liters on the coupe. That's not a lot. But you can see an analog instruments for the beginning. Drift analyzer is not possible, and they have a lot of specification changing between the C63 and the S. So there's a bigger difference also in terms of technology. So you can't have carbon ceramic brakes on the C63, only in the S version. For Audis, there's the one and only Audi, four-wheel drive. Yep, 450 horsepower. In terms of performance, you will see that this car will just be better. It's as easy as that when it comes to handling, especially when the all-wheel drive comes around the corner. They also have the carbon ceramic brakes on the front axle. No carbon bucket seats for the Audi. They don't offer track tires, by the way. Obviously, they just need to match their drivetrain to the all-wheel drive as much as possible. That's why they can't give you the traction control. Well, how does this look? Well, I must say, 45 minutes gone. I know you guys got to go back to work, but the positioning and the launch film is quite provoking, right? It's brutal. The M3 doesn't want to be everybody's darling. Mm-mm. It just wants to be the one and only, extroverted, and just going into the markets and just blow people's minds. And that's exactly what I think it does. How about your opinion? We've reached the end of our webcast. Thanks for watching. But what do you think, guys and girls? Can they defend the #1 position? Because these two cars have been #1 in the market ever since they arrived. They are the ones that founded the class, and I think they're going to be class leading. So if you're looking for design, if you're looking for freaky performance on a racetrack, but if you want to take it as a everyday sedan, if you want, it's all in. And you can just pick and just get as many overwhelmed customers right to get down the signature for next year's March. Thank you very much for watching. And if there's any questions, that will be popping up my mirror in a minute. If you need to log out and go back to work, best regards from Munich to all the world who's watching. Stay tuned. Well, hope to see you live soon. Right, so there is our Q&A session. Greetings from Zagreb, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Australia, Greece. Well, first of all, a lot of greetings back, and we'll have questions that popping in. Let me check this one. Oh, there's weird questions as well, I must say so. The engine has the 48-volt hybrid system, right? I cannot confirm this. In comfort mode, it's softer than the original 2016 M2. I don't know, my friend. I don't know how that 2016 cars drive. You must know, when it comes to comfort, the adaptive suspension on a super sports car has 3 levels, but every level is dynamically regulated according to the tire travel in terms of speed and of weight. So check it out yourself. Within the 3 levels, this car, between comfort and sport, generally speaking, that was my impression on the racetrack, is changing again big time. So when you drive it in comfort, everything is smooth, it's sporty, but it's not harsh. When you drive it on Sport Plus, the car is a killer. The steering changes, the setup of the suspension changes, and it just goes boop, boop. So within what you have in the car, you have a Jekyll and Hyde, still have. Yes, there's one question. Will there be xDrive available? Yes, I've said that, July next year. Okay, so does the drift analyzer come as standard? No, it does not. The drift analyzer comes with a package mDrive Professional. According to your market, you will either have it on the core model, the standard model, or not. Germany has it as an option, and the competition model does feature it standard. If you go for the racetrack package, it's also included. Did I understand it right that the MDM is not anymore available? No, it is there. MDM is still there. There's 2 things, just to get it right in your brains. DSC off and the traction control just limits the wheel spin. By limited the wheel spin, your tail doesn't move all the way out. Because if you're at this stage and then there's no more gas arriving, you cannot overspin, right? But the car goes sideways. MDM is a general mode where the DSC is just a bit more relaxed, but it intervenes completely as a traction control plus in terms of whatever drift comes on. So, nice material. Can we receive this as an email? You can have the ILM, and I'm switching back to this, maybe for one more time. So on your screen, I'm just hitting the button. I'm just asking my guys if you can pop up the screen. The ILM, freshly made, is now available on TMSI. So it should be available. Achim is here and he said, yes, today, tomorrow, however, it will be available. Standard languages, and you can dig in even more details. So no problem. The noses, yes, is the front design of the two cars identical, M3 and M4? Exactly, it is. So the front faces is the same. Somebody wants to hear the sound of the cars, guys. The camera is there, the exhaust is there. That doesn't make sense. You actually have to wait for any digital stuff that comes. Will you make a CSL version? I don't know. Don't ask me that question. That is future. You should be happy to get those two babies in the showroom. What will be the 0 to 100 in the all-wheel drive? Has this been published officially? Did Markus Blasch speak about it? Faster than 3.9, I know, but some surprises left for you to dig in. All right. What about the auto blip function? Yes, it's there. Manual cars, in our M-Drive menu, you can tick the box for the selective auto throttle blip on downshifting. It is there. It's pretty cool. Yeah, well, Switzerland, winter training, I'm coming with the M3. Thank you very much for this one. And performance parts. Do me a favor. The cars can be specced with dramatic performance parts. Whilst you have time today, lunchtime or in the evening, check out the M performance parts on the internet. There is an outgoing freaky car being specced. And if you look for BMW M on Instagram, or you checking out the internet, you'll find a red, black, matte prepared car from M Performance Parts with an outgoing character in terms of the exhaust system. Okay, well, then somebody asked me about the weight. The car, the old one, comes with 1,560 kilos, the predecessor one. Manual, no specs. I know people always think that those old M4s have been sold for 1,560 kilos. I don't know if there's even one single car existing around the world with no extra specs and the standard tires. Remember, that was 18. So this time, I know the car comes with 1,700, which is approximately 140 kilos more. But you see, the car comes with a reasonable high luxury spec. So the perception of the customers when it comes to BMW M is we are super hard in driving. We can do everything, but we are not luxury. And, you know, it's not cool. So this time they've worked in interior quality. It's massive. Good specs right from the start, plus additional stiffness. And you must also see the chassis of the M3 has grown. So 45 millimeters in wheelbase, 13 centimeters in total growth. On the rear bench, I can sit very comfortable on this car. Even on an M4, just check it out yourself with the cars you have, G20. So that is another reason, wider, longer, so there's more space, 480, 410 trunk volume. So those cars are the ones that can do it all. And therefore, the performance has even grown up to the predecessor by still have 140 kilos more. That's a real achievement. Well, then, good morning from the Netherlands. Hi, Netherlands. What options can be selected in the M menu regarding the sound? You do have the sound control button, and the exhaust system runs like always. It has a flap control system, number one. It does open when you hit it hard, the car's being warmed up, or when you put a Sport Plus mode. The sound control button does deactivate the function of the flap, so the car stays in silent mode. according to a lot of people taking sustainability also as a topic. You don't want to, once you run your M3, you don't want to have a fight with your neighbors soon. But the sound changes according to what we have, M5s or others. This is a sporty one, according to what you can have actually in your legal requirements. Okay, there is a question. The manual model, does it come to South Korea? Sorry, please ask your local product manager. I do not know the versions that gonna run all over the planet. One question comes to suspension. Is the suspension directly bolted to the subframe as before without rubber bushings? Yes, there is, but it wasn't directly bolted, only on some parts, because otherwise it's too harsh. I mean, race cars, they are bolted directly, the whole axe carrier. This time there are some connections. You've seen those triangles also with additional fixings. So the car should not be like the one over here, like the GD4 rattling. So it's well balanced between feedback and still having overall control and noise reduction. Do the triangle exhaust. Yeah, the triangle exhaust. Okay, somebody has seen it already. The 4 pipes, that is the performance exhaust. It's street legal and it will come. Okay, and the last question, I actually don't understand FOB. Key FOB different from AG model. So if you can specify that question one more time, then I... Family. Okay, the remote control. No, it's not different. It's the same key, and you can have a display key as well, of course. So we upgraded all the nice comfort functions from G22 or G20, including driver assistance, and add on the M package. So the questions are running out here. Thank you again for watching. All the best to wherever you are in the world. And stay tuned, enjoy your day, read more going into the ILM, so you guys will be the ones that can give the qualification answers to everybody around your buddies right from the start.